I visited Gaza in 1990, and it was a big mess, and of course in need of being liberated then already. But then I went to Jerusalem and to Tel Aviv, and I talked to Israeli people, and of course the feelings were real in this conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Basically, the Israelis, they were feeling like they were sacrificing their lives every now and then at the bombing some kind of checkpoint, and of course the Gazans were killed, as they have been killed recently. And these are real feelings, and there's a real conflict. Now, if you kind of were in a situation where you could decide or judge over that, there could be two ways to go about it. You could empathize with both of them or with one of them and try to support them in the fight and feel very bad for them. That's what usually happens. People get drawn in one camp or the other, and then they have to basically waste their energy and waste their resources and waste their lives fighting that fight, while it is basically a mutual reinforcing delusion that these two parties have, compounded by actual physical constraints that are just triggering basic survival instincts that you have as a human being. You want to drink, you want to eat, you want to live, and etc. You want to prosper, and blood goes where where it can't go, as we say in Holland. Life is just too much of a force to be restrained in any way, so you get these conflicts. And the same could be said, I think, of the international banking system. And these bankers, they say, well, we're not doing all these derivatives trades and these kind of mirror games and these magical wand type of transactions for nothing. We're doing that so, let's say, the US can get oil for free, or have the manufacturing capacity to sustain itself. And therefore everybody needs to suffer a little bit. Everybody needs to get bruises. And that was my perception of business in general, that business is so competitive that wherever you work or wherever you are, you will always in pain because you're trying to be the best you can. The big secret, of course, is that the bankers and the type of money that they manage and control and create is a complete, are hiding the big secret that they're making money over the backs of other people without adding anything. So it's not like value added activity that bankers do. No, they basically exploit these conflicts. They profit from them. They prosper from them. They need them. They create them. And so everybody is in conflict with each other, and everybody is in pain. While the moment any business gets a chance, it will start cooperating with other businesses. For instance, you've got the building cartels, you've got the oil cartels, you've got the food cartels, you've got the banking cartels. Why is that? Well, because they basically want to be more secure in their business operations. And it's not allowed by the government, because the government believes that there's actual competition. But of course there's not actual competition. There's nepotism and corruption, all that kind of stuff. And that's all a race to the bottom. It's if you are constantly in wasting energy in conflict, if you're constantly wasting energy in competition, then of course you're not going to win, and you're not going to end up with anything. So, because I was thinking about talking about the fact that well, in my opinion, you should not look at money, you should look at kind of carrying capacity of a country. How much life can a country support? How much lives, let's say, how much people can it feed? And what is necessary for that? But of course, everybody thinks about the money and believes that whenever you have money, you'll be able to buy something somewhere, or maybe locally even. But that's not the case at all, because money is just paper. It's a promise. It's something that you accept if you believe that in the future somebody else will accept it. So it's basically a means of cooperation. And this is a completely corrupted means of cooperation. And that's one of the magical economical theories, that if you give lots of these papers to people, lots of these bills, that they suddenly start believing that they should work really hard, and they actually can. Well, it becomes impossible if you don't teach them how to work really hard. Like if you make education very expensive, it becomes impossible if you remove the ownership of the tools to do things from them. If you don't allow them to own land, houses, workplaces, if everybody is in debt for these things and has to struggle to get money to even get going with a business, then it's not going to work. But those things are a result from somebody believing in the fact that money is the principal element or the principal aspect. So I might sound naive if I say, well, half of the American population being out of a job, or maybe it's 16%, not that much of course, is not a problem as long as you can feed everybody, as long as you have energy for everybody, and as long as you don't kick them out of their houses and they become homeless. And if you're smart, you start educating them. See, because educated people will do smart things. And if you're in a bad situation, you need smart people. Well, of course, that's easily fixed. You just eliminate the debt of all the students, and then they can go on studying. You just reduce the tuition fees of the universities. You can do all kinds of simple things that of course some people will explode and say, well, this is nonsense. How can you do this to us? We're bankrupt. So what? What did you do? What did you do for anybody? What was your... So now you make $50,000 instead of $500,000 a year. Are you doing anything different? Are you going to do more? There's the same principle with every consumer item, is that you have the super cheap items and they are bad quality. Then they have the normal items, they are normal quality, but they're usually deprecated to be able to sell you the expensive items. But at a certain point, increased cost does not mean increased quality. The same goes with human beings, They have only, let's say, 12 hours a day to work, or maybe 14 hours a day if you're in a labor camp or in some kind of Foxconn factory in China. And that's it. And even if they're super smart, you're not going to get more out of it, because there's only so much capacity in one mind to process information and to do useful things. And the more high level, I think, the less useful it becomes usually. So what's all this money? And why is it around? And why are people creating it? I don't get it. I think that's one of the magical things that economies try to make us believe. And as long as you believe it, you need these economists to manage it. And as long as you believe it, you get these problems where you get money allocated here and there, and then it's worth nothing, and of course you have speculation, and it's all allowed. You see, and the moment you eliminate all that nonsense, you go back to looking at, okay, what's the sustaining capacity of this area, of this county? How much people need to have to work to make sure that everybody has food and shelter and energy? Got a totally different proposition, and I think I think it's not naive to think that could be simply the approach, and you could simply step over the other things. And I think it would relieve everybody of lots of stress to get rid of this whole financial nonsense and this whole financial kind of mythical world where everybody is useless, in my opinion. But anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a nice day. I hope to put up some Tour de France images in another video.